My name is Ada Jusic, and on behalf of Newham Heritage Month and Rosetta Arts, I'll be presenting this workshop, Illustrating Cody Docs, a poster-making workshop inspired by the lives of people who have lived and worked in and around Cody Docs, both in the past and the present. Before starting this workshop, you might wish to download the information pack that's also available. Inside, you'll find some great photos from Cody Docs past and present that you can use as inspiration or as a starting point for your design. There is also a written history of Cody Docs, as well as some additional instructional videos around poster design and drawing techniques that you might find helpful. So before we get started with the demonstration, I'm just going to run through quickly some materials that you might have in the home or that you might like to use. A wide range of materials is not necessary, just a paper and pen can do fine. But if you have these in the home, you might wish to incorporate them as well. So if you have a printer to hand, you may wish to print out some of the images in the information pack to use them either for collaging techniques or as inspiration to draw from. Plain paper and coloured paper as well if you have it, as coloured paper can be used to create interesting contrasting backgrounds to your artwork. But if you don't have coloured paper, plain paper is absolutely fine. Other things you might like to have to hand are scissors and glue, especially if you want to have a go at collaging or if you want to cut out and stick down some of the images that you've printed out. In terms of pens, pencils and colouring pens, ordinary household pens such as biros, fine liners and other handwriting pens are perfectly fine to use. If you have any thicker or chunkier or coloured markers, you may wish to use those as well, as they're quite good fun and handy for colouring in larger parts of the image. If you have highlighters, they're also great for adding a pop of neon colour. And crayons and colouring pencils are also great to have as they add colour and a little bit of texture as well. So before we start drawing our poster, it's important to consider the composition. Composition is how images and text are laid out on the field or the background or the page that you're working on. And by changing the nature of the composition, you can create different dramatic and interesting effects. So for example, some examples of different poster compositions is you can use alternation, where you have alternating images. I've used cutouts of the photos from the info pack here as example. Also think about how you're using space. You can change and tilt the angles of the images that you're using to create interesting and sort of dynamic poses on the page. They don't necessarily have to be realistic, so don't worry if you're turning a building the wrong way, or even if something is upside down. There's lots of different and interesting ways that you can place items on a page to make your poster more visually arresting. You could choose to have one large image dominating your poster, or a contrast between a larger image and a much smaller one, say in the background. Or you can choose to bunch all your images together, either at the top or at the bottom of the page, and leave the rest of it relatively clear. This is called gradation. If you don't have a printer to handy, or you aren't able to make printouts from the info pack, to plan your poster, you can just grab a marker pen and do a quick sketch of where you want the images or your drawings to rest on the page. So you might want to use a bit of scrap paper for this first to plan it out. And it don't have to be great drawings. You can just do like these quick scribbly sketches like I have. Perhaps indicate where you'd like to put text to go, if you want to have text on it, and where you might like to have some colouring in, or some block colour to differentiate from the bits of the poster that you're going to leave blank to let the background colour of the paper show through. So now that we've chosen our composition, it's time to start drawing. So here I've pre-prepared some of my poster design already, and I've decided to contrast a Cody Dock worker from the present with one of the past. So here I've chosen to draw this young woman from Cody Dock's newsletter with her power drill, and I'm going to contrast her with a coal worker from the 1800s, when the docks were first functioning as an industrial place of work. And so I'm going to draw a poster where these two women are sort of on opposite ends to kind of highlight the contrast of the different natures of their work. You can see the young woman from the present. She's using an electric drill. She's got all the modern protection, the mask, the goggles. Whereas the lady from the 1800s, you can see she's using a manual tool, a pickaxe, and she doesn't really seem to be wearing any kind of protection, except for her heavy boots and her work coat. So I thought that was quite interesting, how differently the workplace has changed over 200 years, particularly in the area around Cody Docks. Perhaps you might have noticed some similar contrasts or similarities yourselves, and that might be something that you've chosen to explore in your own poster design. Anyway, getting started. So I've cut the coal worker. So I've got like a little bit of a reference, and so I'm going to take a coloured pen, and I'm just going to start drawing the shape of this figure, as if I'm drawing a silhouette. So that's her hand that's holding the pickaxe, the handle of the pickaxe. One boot and the other, and then once I've done with the outline, I'm going to fill it in. So this is a quick drawing technique that you'll find in one of the linked videos in the information pack, and it's just a very quick way to do a fun and easy illustration where you lay down a coloured shape first, and then draw the details over the top. And it doesn't matter if it's not perfect, if the lines are a bit wobbly or not quite in the right places. It's about having fun and creating an interesting and unique illustration. So it's not about being perfect at all. I'm going to switch back to this end. And so now I'm going to take a fine liner pen. So that the first drawing I did in pink biro, but I think with this one I'm going to go with a black fine liner, and I'm just going to go around the illustration or rather the shape that I've drawn, and make the illustration and fill in the outline and the details. So that's the second hand there. Yeah, what I find quite interesting while researching Cody Docs for this project is how the work that would have taken place in and around the docks over, say, 200 years has moved from this very tough physical labour to more kind of office-based labour. If you go to Cody Docks and the surrounding areas today, you'll see they've got headquarters and offices for all kinds of companies. There's an Amazon and a Sainsbury's warehouse there. There's also Getty Images, who have kindly given us permission to use some of the images for this workshop, and lots of different companies where I suppose people sit at desks rather than breaking coal all day long. So nearly done. Just going to draw in the details of her face. She seems quite smiley for what must have been quite a tough, quite a back-breaking job. And just noticed that she seems to be wearing like a belt on her coat as well. There we go. So that's the second illustration finished. So now I'm going to add some text to my poster, and I think the text that I'm going to go with is "Women Workers of Cody Docks." So if you're not super confident with lettering, you might want to take a pencil and just very faintly outline what you're going to write. And right, I think I might go over this with, oh no, that's probably a bit too thick, so I'm going to take quite a thick black pen, just test it out. The trick with good lettering is to go nice and slow, and if you're not confident in your handwriting, to write in capitals. That's a little trick until you get a bit more confident. Make sure they're nicely spaced apart as well. That K's a little bit close to the R. nearly run out of space for the S, but I think I can just about squeeze it in there. Now, once you've got your text and your illustrations, you might want to cut these out and put these on some coloured paper, perhaps, and sort of play around with the composition again like we did like before we started drawing. But if you don't have coloured paper or sort of coloured materials, there are other ways to create an interesting coloured background. So I'm going to take a felt tip pen and just draw some sort of bold lines as the background to this side of the poster. To add to the contrast, I'm going to reverse the background colours for each side of the poster. So I'm doing the background for this modern half in an orange. And on this side, I'm going to do a yellow so it contrasts with the figure on this side. I really love using household highlighters because they have such vivid neon colours. I think also the neon yellow kind of recalls the high vis that you see a lot of workers wearing around Cody Docks as well. So I'm going to do one more quick demonstration. So for this one, I've taken this lovely photo of the two girls at a prose test, and I've done a quick sketch of the girl on the right, and I'm now going to very quickly draw her in using an ink pen. I like these thick black marker pens because you can get quite dramatic lines with them. It's great for doing her lovely pigtails that she's wearing. There we go. I'm just going to skip the footage ahead a bit now so you can see the finished. So now that I've finished outlining the girl in black pen, I'm going to add some shading, and I've decided to use a blue marker for this. So I'm just going to add a bit of shading sort of everywhere where a shadow falls on a face, so around the eyes and the mouth and a little bit under the nose. and under the fringe as well, because she's got quite a heavy fringe, and then some under the neck. Just add a little bit of shading on her t-shirt and okay, so now that I've finished colouring my drawing of the girl at the protest, I've cut her out and I'm going to make a collage poster with some printouts that I made of images from the information pack. So I've got the Cody Docs sign and this old piece of machinery, and I'm just going to play around with these cutout elements and see how I want to arrange them on the paper. Okay, so I think I've roughly got my composition how I want it. So now I just have to stick it down. And here is the finished poster once it's all been stuck down into place. So those are two quick and easy ways to make a fun poster celebrating the heritage of Cody Docs. So there we go, illustrating Cody Docs. For more fun workshops and fascinating Newham heritage, please go to www.newhamheritagemonth.org. Thank you.